Today we are testing out several different light setups, and we're also testing out a new toy that I got today. It's the OBSbot, which basically should allow this camera to follow me around, especially while I take some selfies. So we'll see if that works out. But I can tell you right now what we're shooting with today. We've got my Canon R5 with the Godox X Pro 2 trigger for later on in the test. The Tether Tools cable tethered to my laptop over there. And for the light stand, 43-inch deep silver umbrella box from Westcott with the diffusion fabric. I have here an 8-foot light stand, air cushioned light stand with a Kupo baby arm. And the first light that we're going to test today is made by SmallRig, and it's the RC220D. D is for daylight balance at 5600 Kelvin. We have a small Manfrotto light stand here. It's a 1051 for the record, with a Manfrotto halo silver side reflective material pointing up. So this is kind of our standard on-location clamshell setup. It's pretty portable. It also doesn't take up a huge footprint, as you can kind of see here. There's other massive studio equipment in the back, but let's just see how it works. So I've got this light currently set at 50% power. It gets a little bit warmer. The fan comes on a little bit more when it's more than 50%. So I'm going to adjust my camera settings accordingly. Right now we're shooting at 160 shutter speed, ISO 400, and f4 is usually where I like to shoot for headshots. So let's just give that a go. And I'll show you what this looks like. The light quality looks pretty good to me, but it feels just a tad underexposed. So I'm going to change my shutter speed to 1/125th and give it another try. And I think that is a lot better. So that's at 50% with this setup. The comparison that I'm going to do today is shooting this LED light, the SmallRig light, with a Godox Ad200pro in there with just a bare bulb to fill the umbrella. I feel like it fills the umbrella a little bit more. So I'm going to change that out. I'll show you these images when we're done and show you what it looks like. Okay, we have changed out the light. We are now shooting with the Godox Ad200pro. I've got the Godox trigger on here, the X Pro 2. I've currently got it set to nothing, but I'm going to put it in TTL mode. I'm going to change my camera settings. I'm going to leave it 1/25th. The ISO is going to go down to 100. And I'll see how that looks, starting where I did on the last one. And it's pitch black. So something's happening. It's not getting a good TTL reading. So let's just try and set that up manually. Instead. Okay, we'll go into manual mode. And we'll start at 1/32. It's not a lot of power. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, we are probably about 1.5 stops too low. So we are going to crank this up to 1/16 plus about a half. It should get us a lot closer to some better exposure. Yes, maybe a little too bright, so I'm going to actually change my shutter speed to 1/160th. A little bit too much. I'm going to do 1/200. Let's see. Okay, that's not bad. So I'm going to go back and compare these for you, show you what the images look like. My expression is terrible, but you'll get the point of the exercise. Generally speaking, I can tell you when I look at these, the Ad200 fills the umbrella more with that bare bulb, which results in this background being more lit. In the other images with the SmallRig LED light, there's really nice exposure on my face, but there's almost no fall off onto the background, and that is probably because that little baffle I have on there and the small LED light's actually probably about this big, is projecting back into the umbrella and not filling out the whole thing, and it's not radiating back like this. It's a little bit more directional, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do to get that to spill, but maybe what I'll do is take that little baffle off and try it again. I've been using the Ad200 for a long time. The only disadvantage to bringing that on site is bringing a couple of batteries just in case, although they do last probably all day, one battery, but you know, I always like to have spares. I also bring spare bulbs, and I bring 2 triggers just in case one trigger fails or I end up with some kind of issue. So I also have to bring an S bracket to go onto the cupola arm to mount the umbrella to the SmallRig, to the Ad200. The SmallRig has a Bones mount built in. Obviously there's no bulb to change. The disadvantage there though is you're running a power cord, and it's just one more thing for somebody to trip on, but it's also unlimited power. Your light really shouldn't fail you, but fingers crossed. It's a very dramatic looking light that it gives off for this setup. So as of right now, based on what I've done, before I change it out again, right now the Ad200 is by far the way to go with this setup. There's a dramatic difference in light fall off from this through that umbrella, but it's still a great light. It's going to be used actually to shoot this video scene in a few minutes. We're going to try that out as well. So let's come back and we'll do that. Okay, I didn't take the baffle off that light. I know it's not going to make that much of a difference, to be honest with you. It's just a very directional light. So I'm actually using it right now in the studio to light the scene, which is why I'm much brighter. It's great for video, this light for sure. I'm getting a little reflection off the ceiling. I'm sure it's going to change things with my setup here with the Ad200, but I'm going to give it a go again and see what kind of images we can get with this. And throw it in TTL mode and see what happens. So we're back. We're now lit with the SmallRig light to light the actual studio. And I'm going to see if this goes. And for some reason, this is why we bring extra triggers, because this thing doesn't like the mode. But I'm going to go back to manual and try it out, especially with this light. I don't know if it's going to change my exposure, but let's just try it again. No, so we've basically eliminated with these camera settings the ambient light, and we're kind of just going with what's happening there with the flash. Just going to crank the ISO down just for a second. Makes it a little bit darker, but a little bit nicer. So again, my expressions are terrible, but you kind of get the idea of what happens with this setup. If you have any questions, if you want to know anything about the particular equipment that I'm using or the way that I set it up on site, I guess the only thing I maybe didn't mention over here is the tether table, which is attached right now to my Peak Design aluminum tripod, travel tripod. It's an amazing setup for that actually. It works really well on client sites. Obviously it's not set up here, it's a setup on the other side so that I can see the images when I'm shooting from there. I'll periodically bring my clients around, let them have a look at all the images. A lot of photographers don't show every single image. They will show you the best images, and that's fine, but I like to show people what they see. They don't have the advantage of seeing what we see here. There's no mirror, there's just us, the photographer, and it's up to us to guide them. If there's hair out of place, if there's anything with wardrobe wrinkles, tie crooked, anything like that, that's on us. We have to fix that. It has nothing to do with them. In fact, even especially the client's expression, which is probably the most important part of an image, that's up to the photographer to get a great, genuine image out of this. So anyways, hopefully this video was useful to some people. I know it's going to be useful to me for reference purposes, which is why I started making these videos. And that should take us out. A couple small things I want to point out before I move to the next part in the video. One of the things I did with this SmallRig outfit here, I've actually got a small cover on this here, just to diffuse the light a little better, and also to keep this fan on top outside of the umbrella and outside and away from the diffusion fabric. I found when I had just the LED light shining in there that the fan was very close to this diffusion fabric and it got a little bit warm. Another critique I have of this light, although I'm not sponsored by anybody, is this XLR connection, which is great for secure purposes, is really, really close to where you would put the umbrella through, which is right through their mount. It's accommodating, but it does put a little bit of strain on the connection here. So just something to note or to be aware of. It is possible. It just feels a little funny when it is hooked up that close.